a student, mentor, or parent that loves robotics? Then you're in the right place. Up-to-date info on all things robotics. This is the RoboZone Podcast with your host, Pete Eckman. The RoboZone Podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world.
Hello and welcome to the 64th episode of the RoboZone Podcast. This podcast is for Tuesday, June 19th. In this episode, the parade of off-season events continues, this time with RoboDay at Ferris State University coming up in the near fall. So let's get to the interview.
The RoboZone Podcast is brought to you by AndyMark.com, your robot parts experts.
With me tonight, I have some roundtable interviewees that have a event that's coming up here in the near fall. So let's start with our introductions. Jacob, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jacob Russell. I'm the event coordinator, and I'm an industrial engineer by trade. And I'm an alumni of Ferris State.
And the event coordinator of?
The Ferris State RoboDay.
And Victoria, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Victoria Funke. I am one of the event planners for the Ferris State RoboDay competition. I am currently a welding engineering technology student at Ferris State and the president of the first robotics RSO there.
And certainly not least, we have Scott.
Hey, this is Scott Stap from Team FridgeBot. I'm also one of the advisors for the Ferris State RoboDay.
A couple weeks ago, I put out a call for anyone that wanted to come on the podcast and promote their events because we try to keep kids involved in robotics year-round. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir with that. So, Jacob, tell me a little bit about Ferris State's RoboDay.
So this is the second year of the RoboDay. Last year was pretty fun, minus Mother Nature trying to sweat us out. We had 12 teams last year. Currently, we have 18 teams signed up as of this morning for this year. So we have 6 slots left, 24 teams max allowed. Space reasons and also just to make sure everybody gets a good amount of matches to play. And the event's only $150 a team. It's a one-day event, September 29th at all day that Saturday. And load-in will be on September 28th.
So, Victoria, were you involved in last year's RoboDay?
Yeah, I was the one that kind of started the idea of RoboDay by opening my mouth at one of the meetings with the provost of Ferris State, I believe. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And as Jacob said, Mother Nature did try sweating us out, but since we were right next to the ice arena, we were all able to go in there and cool off and chill out, literally.
Well, maybe you could have taken the robots onto the ice and acted like Lunacy from 2006. That might have been enjoyable.
So we actually have been trying to get on the ice since last season, or last event. We've just been trying to work with the school as much as possible to get that to happen, and it's just not going to happen.
I was halfway joking, but I'm glad you actually...
That was the best room in the house last year. Darn right we're going to try to get in there.
It was the number one request after my follow-up survey to the event. That was the number one request from all of the teams that showed up, was to have the event on the ice rink instead of in the gym because of how hot it was last year. But no one expects it to be 100-plus degrees outside at the end of September.
Scott, tell us, did Team FridgeBot participate in the event last year?
Oh, definitely. We had an amazing time. It felt like coming home, all sorts of friends there, people that we knew. Of course, we even fell on our face a little bit. We got all the way over there and realized we didn't have our bumpers. So people just pulled out all the stops, ran back to their robot workspaces there and brought us back noodles that we duct taped to the robot and proceeded on as if it never happened. It was great, and it was definitely number one on our list of things to redo this year.
So my next question is, Jacob, did you guys put T-shirts together there that it says, Scott, did you remember the bumpers? At least you could have sold those this year.
Sure.
No, but I have been contemplating putting it into the mailing list that I send out to the teams that are registered, just to kind of throw a couple of jokes at them.
Teams register for RoboDay, Jacob?
So they can either go to our team website, the event website, which is fsuroboday.com, or they can go to our Facebook page, which has a link on it, or they can go find our link that we've been posting, Chief Delphi, Facebook, anywhere we can think of. just to try and get the word out, they can just follow the link and go sign up on Google Docs. I don't know if we can actually attach that link to this when we send it out. When you post out your podcast, I can give you the link for that. And we're also taking signups for volunteers as well.
Victoria, tell us a little bit about RoboDay last year. I mean, from what I remember, because I didn't make it out there, I remember Scott and some other mentors telling me, especially like the Martians and More Martians, that there were more robots there than there were the actual FRC kids, right?
Yeah, so one of the really cool things we were able to do is we had teams that couldn't make it up. They sent their robot up, and they allowed local schools that didn't have robotics teams but were interested to come test out the robot and drive around, or allow another team that had a surplus of students go test drive the robot and see what a competition was really like.
And can you guys list a couple of the teams that actually did that? They actually allowed someone that didn't design the robot to drive it? Because that's a huge kudos to give those teams, Jacob. Do you remember some of the teams?
So we actually have a list of the teams that gave us loaner bots. The 3 teams that loaned robots were 70, 33, and 5114. 33's robot, they actually sent up their practice robot, which still went really well. Their practice robot was run by a team students from a school that didn't have a team that we worked with Gail to get interaction with them for this event. They were up from that area, and those students actually ended up creating a first team and was a rookie team this year. So it definitely helped get students to show up. 70 and 5114 also did a great job at just kind of helping out, getting everybody, all the other students that showed up, a chance to be on the field and actually compete.
And Victoria, why create RoboDay? Why have this event as an off-season event? What is the accomplishment, or what is the goal that you guys are trying to accomplish?
One of the goals we were trying to accomplish is to create a cheaper off-season event alternative for teams in our area, along with to have a more recognized name on the Ferris State University campus, to have the university try and understand that, FIRST is a major thing that you should probably invest in. So let us go on the ice rink instead of cherish your hockey team.
And Scott, is Ferris State one of those colleges or universities that's trying to build their robotics or their engineering program there? Is that one of the focuses, is try to get more kids to have exposure to Ferris? Because I know Ferris is in the middle. It's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's kind of remote.
It's not as remote as some of the colleges that the kids are looking at, but they're still competing for the same pool of kids that are coming in. So they have to give them different reasons to come in than just to visit. Other locations not too far from here have had a brilliant success with having kids come in and basically feeling comfortable with the college after being there, 4 or 5, 6 different times over the years with their robotics teams. So Ferris they see the advantage to it and are trying to cash in on it a little bit.
Now, Jacob, I'm very familiar with that campus because I had a daughter that went to Ferris State for a year, and now she's in the military. But I remember the campus. I remember you guys had a really nice eating facility that has a plethora of different things in it. Is that open to the public during this event?
So the public campus eateries are open year-round to everyone around town, anybody that can just walk in at any time. We are trying to negotiate with them to get a better pricing for the teams. And also we're working with some of the local companies, seeing like what kind of deals we can get the teams as well.
There is a fair amount of things around that campus because with it being, I don't want to say remote. Let's just say it's
an hour from anything. You can go ahead and say it's an hour. It's remote.
Okay, there we go. Well,
no
you took the words out of my mouth. So, I mean, there is a lot of things right there around the campus. I know there's a couple hotels there because you guys have a pretty big football team that plays out there. I know you guys have a really good hockey team from past experience with them. What other things can kids do, Victoria, in that area, say after RoboDay? Is there anything that's set up outside of the competition?
I mean, if they really wanted to, they could go kayak or inner tube down the river right by campus, or they could go on the trails, go get some ice cream, or just walk around downtown or walk around on campus.
Right. So, I mean, if teams wanted to come up on a Friday, if you want to register your team and you're not really close, you could register, come up on Friday, have a nice night, maybe 2 in the morning, and then go to a robot competition. What else, Scott? You've been there many times. What other things can teams do or plan to do around there if they were interested in participating?
We didn't do a whole lot around there. It was pretty much a run over and run back for us when we went. That we went out for lunch and stuff like that, but we didn't stay. It's close enough to the central part of the state that you're able to run over and run back, without having to pay excessive amounts on hotel fees and everything like that too.
Okay, so we've went around pretty much, I think, every aspect. Is there anything that I'm leaving out, Jacob, before I change the subject on you guys, as far as Roboday is concerned?
The biggest thing is just if there's any teams that still want to come join, we only have 6 slots left, so sign up soon or else you're going to get put on a waiting list, and I doubt teams are going to be dropping from it.
Right, because they're bringing the robots out there, and we already said it's a little remote, so why would you cancel, right?
Right.
So I'm glad that all three of you guys gave me some information on RoboDay so we can promote that for teams that are out there that are looking for a pretty inexpensive, competition. I mean, let's finalize that. Are there trophies coming out of this competition? Is it just kind of a fun thing?
So we don't give out trophies. Instead, we give out robot parts.
Oh, even better.
We try to get as many prizes as possible. We actually have IndyMarks partnering with us a little bit to help out with some of the prizing. We just talked to them and they donated some prizing, so we will actually be able to give out some stuff from IndyMark. I can't say what yet. And we're also set a budget to buy some more stuff also to hand out. I know Scott's team, FridgeBots, they got a prize last year. I'll let Scott talk about what they got.
We got a battery, which
that's probably one of the best things you could possibly get.
Oh yeah, you can use it on anything. You can use it in your wheelchair. You can use it in your Power Wheels cars. You can use it in a robot.
Or you can use it for competition and a normal season.
Yeah. Wait a minute. This is off season, so. But there was other people there that were getting really cool circuit board. What was that one? What was that one, Jacob, that you guys got that was like cutting edge?
The NavX microcontroller.
The NavX, yes. That thing was cool, and that was one of the top prizes. So, I mean, to me, you can put a trophy on the shelf, but the prizes you win at this, you can actually put to work.
So, Victoria and Jacob, let's change the subject a little bit. Do either one of you mentor a FRC team? Of course, myself and Scott do, but do you guys get involved in the FRC events?
So, Tori, you want to take that one first?
So, the Ferris First Robotics RSO does sponsor a local Big Rapids team, Big Red Theory. They're actually thinking about changing their name. But we do support some other teams in the area by opening up our manufacturing and welding shops to them one night a week, possibly 2. So we open that up to the other local Big Rapids team, and we're going to open it up to the other 4 or 5 teams in the county of Macasta and Osceola, because they might not have access to the tech center.
Okay. But do you personally, are you an FTA? Do you do any refereeing for FRC work, or are you a mentor yourself on a team?
I'll either volunteer as a mentor. Occasionally I'll go as a volunteer for an event. But other than that, not really.
Okay. And Jacob, do you do any mentoring?
Oh. So just a little bit of history. I actually am a co-founder of both the Big Rapids teams, so 5162 and 5448. And one of the founders of the the Ferris State First Robotics RSO. So I kind of helped get all that stuff going there with a few other guys from my class when we first started. We recruited a bunch of our classmates and we started up all that fun stuff. That Tori has now taken over my reign as president last year, and she's done a really good job this past year keeping it alive. Now that I'm out in industry, I actually mentor the team my company sponsors. which is 6117 wingspan. We're the second pick at Waterford, and we ended up being the 6 seed alliance that went and won Waterford. So that was a little bit of fun. First blue banner for me being on a team, or mentoring as a team, I should say. So I'm really proud of my students for that. And so right now I'm still sticking with 6117.
Okay, so let me follow up with a couple questions about Power Up, if you don't mind. So Jacob, did you like Power Up? What did you think about Power Up this past season?
I thought Power Up was a good change because it definitely required you to work with your teammates, and just having one team that was good at doing everything wasn't going to be able to necessarily win you every match. It required a lot more work, and I've seen a lot more cooperation and things like that happening at the event. I'm going to do a shout out to Milford for that one. When we showed up, I know there was about 10 to 15 teams that didn't have autonomous going. And by the end of the first day, every team there had autonomous. And by the eliminations, almost every team had some sort of scoring routine for scale or switch. Just because all the teams that were able to help with the programming were doing so that it could raise the level of competition. And it was a really nice thing to see.
And Scott, it's been a while since I've asked you a question on a podcast. What did you think? What is your official judgment on Power Up this past season?
I thought it was a great game. It was completely different than what we've seen in the past, but it still utilized enough of the elements that you were able to go back and get ideas from previous seasons. We had an excellent season, especially with a brand new first-year driver making it all the way to states. But as the season went on, you could see different plays come into being. Things happened at states that you never saw at any of the other events. So it was great. I loved it. It was a rush.
And so Victoria, I'm going to start with you, since you did a little bit of mentoring last year. Have you heard about this new game called Deep Space? Have you heard about Deep Space yet?
I've heard a little about it. I haven't really been able to dive into it, but I know the students on my team are kind of really interested in it to see what happens. I know a lot of members of the RSO are really interested to see what happens with it too. So,
what is the conspiracy theory type look at Deep Space? What do they think it's going to be? Have they expressed anything so far?
They haven't expressed anything to my knowledge.
Okay, Jacob, what do you think Deep Space is going to be? I asked this of every person I've interviewed over the last couple of weeks, just to see if we can get those wild theories running like Lunacy 2.0. I don't think we're going to see that, but what do you think Deep Space is going to involve?
So you already said what I'm hoping doesn't happen is Lunacy 2.0. That's the only thing I don't want to happen.
Right, but I mean, do you think it's going to be the return of a shooting game? Every other year we seem to have a shooting game. Do you think it's a return of that?
I'm going to say probably, just because history does stand its ground on that one. Just from since my start in 2010, it's kind of been every other year. I would definitely go with it's most likely a shooting game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the GDC decides to change it up on us.
Right, and I don't know if you guys listened to last week's episode, but we had Tony on from Lapeer, and he is a huge, absolutely huge, has a fascination with the moon landing. Of course, next year marks the 50th episode, or the 50th year of the moon landing. So some people are thinking there's going to be football-shaped rocks that we have to throw through the air, and I'm in fear of that happening. But Scott, what do you think Deep Space is going to be? I mean, you have your team around you almost 24/7. So have you guys started to think about next year and what that might include?
Well, I definitely think a shooting aspect's going to be in there. You're going to be shooting fuel into a hopper or something to fuel up your rocket, and then you're going to have a pilot out in your rocket ship out in the middle of the field, and then you deliver the final Oh, wait, that was a couple years ago.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're having nightmares of Steamworks.
No more gears. No, I think that it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. I've got a young team all over again, but I think they're up for the challenge. And, it's just incredible the amount of information that you can get now off the internet as compared to even 5 years ago. So I think they're going to do a great job and be able to learn and build on these experiences.
I'm starting to think First has a better security plan over what the game is than Apple does over their new iDevices, because it seems that it leaks left and right. I haven't seen a leak in a First game in quite a while. So
it's not a water game. It won't leak.
Everyone wants a water game, Scott. Everyone. I don't as a mentor, but everyone wants one. So, Jacob, what else do you think? What else? I mean, you talked about a little bit about your team and what you guys did this past season, but do you think, I don't know, do you think we're going to reach 600 teams next year in the state of Michigan? We're at 508 now.
I mean, it's a good possibility. I don't know how many school districts there actually are in the state, so knowing that number would probably help. But I know for a lot of teams, the hardest part is just kind of sustaining, but we do need to keep growing. So really, I think it's going to come down to how much support we still have as things start to switch up. Like, 'cause I know Governor Snyder is going to be switching out here soon. So once he ends up switching, what his predecessor will do, if they keep up with what he's been helping First with or not.
And we all hope that. But I know I interviewed Andrew Spees, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and they all blur together at this point. But I think he said there was rough, and I don't want to quote him, I think he said something over 1,500 high schools in Michigan, both private and public. So I think we're at a third. We're covering a third of all the high schools in Michigan.
Yep,
at this point.
that's right.
And Scott, or not, Andrew Spees is at Scott's place, so I'm waiting for him to peek in there and just say something.
This is Andrew. That is correct.
See, I knew he was there. Oh, good God. Anyways, yeah. So what other things can you guys do? Okay, so I've started to think about how we can expand the conversation, because the summer months are kind of the dead months. I mean, we get you guys on and talk about the events that are coming up, like RoboCon. We have your RoboDay. We have Kettering Kickoff. There's Maker Fair here in Dearborn in Michigan at the Henry Ford. That's a good day to go look at, science-inspired stuff. But how do you keep people going during the summer, Jacob? What other things can mentors do to keep their kids, those brains actively going, rather than playing Fortnite all night? Not that nothing's wrong with Fortnite. I don't want to get flamed out on social media. But what other things can mentors do to keep their kids busy?
So one thing that my team just did last week on Tuesday, because Brozo is our main sponsor, the company I work for, the students, we actually had a ice cream social for the company. So we worked with at our work, we have an events planning committee. So the team partnered with the events planning committee, and the students came in and actually talked with all the employees about what First is, what they've learned, what they can do. And then on the other side, they got to learn from industry professionals what they're doing, learn about their jobs and things like that. Meanwhile, everybody's having fun and having ice cream, and the students are driving the robot around, showing it off.
I'm totally jealous. I want to be at an event where there's ice cream and robots.
Yeah, and we have about 600 people in our company in Detroit in 3 different buildings, so the students got to go around and go to visit all 3 of our buildings and just kind of show off the robot.
Sounds like a great opportunity to be with a sponsor or a partner. I call them partners, not sponsors, but to be with that, and so you get some kind of relationship built between the kids and the employees of the company. Victoria, what else can mentors do to keep their kids busy in the summer?
So what I remember my old team did was we still met either once a week or once a month, and we were able to experiment with things we couldn't do during build season. So like experiment with different drivetrains, different mechanisms. We used it as a very big training time. Like if they wanted to learn any programming languages, any skills on machines, if they wanted to learn welding or anything like that. Another thing that we liked having kids do is go to different workshops that I know different places hold. I can't think of anywhere right now. But just keep it engaged, do other summer camp-based things, or even parades. Just having your team go and be in a parade to get that publicity is a lot of fun. And something I enjoyed doing.
Funny you mentioned parades, because I think we have a parade master on here in Scott Stap, because you do a lot of off-season projects that I know of, including remote control wheelchairs. Is that correct, Scott?
Had to get off mute here. I got way
going
on in the robotics lab here. But yeah, we got RC controlled wheelchairs. We're rebuilding the original fridge bot. We're putting a drivetrain back in it and making it all functional again.
That's good.
We've got Power Wheels cars that we're refitting with beefed up drivetrains and better electric motors. Actually starting to train some of the younger kids how to weld and use the bridge ports and the lathe, the bridge ports and the lathe that we got there, Pete.
Yeah, I know. Rubbing it in my face again.
Yeah, and we've even, Danny's been working on a robot that will actually follow a cell phone. So say the band is marching in a parade, the last member of the band puts a cell phone in his back pocket, and our cooler robot will follow him down the parade route. So that's one of the things that we're working on.
Can you invent something that keeps phones out of people's hands while they're driving? Because we would all enjoy that.
Yeah, we can do that. How's that?
Yeah.
We are doing Maker Faire, like you said, this coming weekend. The Sloan Auto Show, the car show, is going to be up at
Some museum.
It's up at Crossroads Village, north of Flint. And
right, I know you're going. So is 2337 is going to be there too, right?
Yep. So they do a demonstration there every year. We got RoboCon and Lapeer coming up. I mean, there's events everywhere. We've even put together a Facebook page, robotics events and training, that details all the upcoming events in Michigan.
It's a very useful website, and people also put up robot parts and things like that they're trying to trade off or looking for, and also just general support too. I know I've gone on there a few times asking for recommendations on what to use.
Right, we got another one coming up too, but I think it's later. It's in September, but Baybot Bash in Bay City, right? There's an event going on out there.
Yep, that's also.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jacob.
No, you're good.
We'll put a link to this webpage in the show notes so people can click on it, and then they can get access to it and get added to it. And that just doesn't mean people in Michigan. That means people everywhere, right? I want to thank all of you for coming on the podcast tonight.
So I'm Jacob Russell, Mentor 6117, event coordinator of the Ferris State Roboday. You can follow the team on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I believe. And then you can follow the event at fsuroboday.com. You can find it on Facebook. Tori, did you ever make that Twitter page?
I made it, but it's not like you use it.
I'm leaving that in too.
Then you can find us there, and we mainly put all of our updates on the Facebook page still, and it's also where all the current teams signed up list is. So if you want to know who's coming to our event, go look on our Facebook page.
Perfect. Tori, you're up next.
My name's Victoria Funke. I am one of the event planners for the FSU RoboDay event, along with the president of the first robotics RSO at Ferris State. You can find the team I mentor, 5162, Big Red Theory, at BR Robotics, either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that other glamorous stuff.
And finally, Scott.
Hey, this is Scott Stap from Team FridgeBot. You can find our booster organization at fridgebotfoundation.net. You can also get us on Facebook. You can look up the Corona Robotics Center, but pretty much just put hashtag FridgeBot in, and you'll find us just about anywhere.
Yeah, I want to thank all three of you guys for coming on the podcast, sharing us the information about RoboDay. If you're listening to this podcast right now and your team's looking for something to do in September, now's the time to go sign up.
The RoboZone podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world.
So yet another opportunity for teams in the off-season to participate in a summer/early fall event. Go sign up for RoboDay out at Ferris State University. You have finished listening to the 64th episode of the RoboZone podcast. You can listen to us on Google Music, Apple iTunes Podcasts, and SoundCloud. We thank you for listening. We will be back next week, so get ready for another episode, and thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the RoboZone podcast with your host, Pete Eckman. Find us online at robozonetv.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.